there, it's Jenni Lee from Lock 5 Studio, and if you know me, then you know it's been a while since I posted a long form video. So sorry about that. I've had just a lot going on. I've been kind of working on stuff behind the scenes. Some of it is fiber arts related, some of it is art related. And I've been spending some time with my husband actually the last couple weeks, which has been really nice. So as I've been kind of like just doing my own thing in the background without doing a lot of posting, I've been binging on this YouTuber that I really have gotten fond of. His channel is Sailing with Phoenix, so I encourage you to check him out, unless swearing offends you, then. But anyways, his story is pretty amazing. It's pretty incredible. He decided to like empty his 401k, quit his job, bought a sailboat, had only been sailing once in his life on a rental sailboat, I think it was, or in his friends, I forgot what it was. But anyways, and just like learns from YouTube and his YouTube posts essentially about how to maintain and manage his boat. And I know now, since he's actually left and made it to Hawaii, because I see like the little I see the posts that he's put up, but I'm watching them in order, so I haven't caught up to that point actually. Anyways, all that to be said, or all that said to make the point that I actually really appreciate his format. I struggle to make content because I don't feel authentic when I make it. So that's been a struggle with me from the beginning. And his content is so authentic that he's literally just like fixing his boat, and he's like, I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm fixing my boat, so let's chat. And he just kind of like complains, dreams a little bit, talks to his cat. He doesn't try to be impressive though. So I guess that's kind of what I was thinking for a direction. Although I do have microphones, and I'm wondering if maybe I should get them. So I'm going to go see if they're charged up, because it might improve the sound quality. Because we have like birds and traffic, and like our hot water tank makes a loud like banging noise, which you may hear. So I'm gonna go check on those in 2 seconds. I also just want to say, like, a lot of the editing I do, people really love, but it's time consuming. It takes a long time, and it takes a lot out of me. And so I need to streamline the process. So my goal is to create videos that are kind of just like as natural as his almost. I know he edits them and stuff, but they just seem very spontaneous and organic. And if I can do less editing, then you may see a more vulnerable side of me and my work, but that will help me to actually create more work and to create more content simultaneously. So I'm going to go get those, and I will be back. Okay, so it says I'm connected, so I'm interested to hear the difference in the audio when I put the videos together and splice them and see how it sounds with the before and the after. So anyways, as I was saying, I was actually in here working in the studio. I've got myself set up to do a variety of different things. Like I've got my time lapse going. That's my time lapse ring, lamp, whatever you want to call it. I've got the Eye on the Prize painting in the works, and I've actually got the first color up, which is really exciting. And so that leaves me with some leftover paint. And I was digging into my mini abstracts this morning, which I hadn't done in months, at least weeks, but it's probably been months. And so I was pretty excited to pull these off the pile. I've got a giant pile. You can actually see a few of them here, but the pile is like 2 deep and 2 feet tall probably when they're all stacked up. So I really want to get some of them done and signed off on so that I can sell them or make reproductions or whatever I want to do. So anyways, I was starting to apply some of this beautiful yellow that I had created for this painting. And I was like, you know what? I could just do what he does. I could just talk through my process. And see what I come up with. So I don't know if it's going to be worth watching or not, but whatever. If you have nothing better going on, this might be entertaining. If you do have better stuff going on, I don't blame you. It's really hot outside. I wish I was out kayaking with my husband right now, honestly. So as much as I love to be in the studio, nature calls, you know? So anyways, I have a whole pile of these going. Yeah, so a lot of times it's just like layers and layers of paint and mark making. On sometimes like a plain white canvas. Sometimes I like put a background on there. It's a lot of random organic stuff. I collect a lot of trinkets off the side of the road and from free bins and yard sales. I have a whole rolling cart here that has like massive shelves. And then I have this thing that I converted into a stuff holder. And I have other stuff holders elsewhere. This is a rat's nest of a studio. It looks organized, sort of, because like all the markers are with all the markers and all the oil paints are like, you know, in the tool chest with all the oil paints and mediums. All the canvases are like over there. All the papers are all over there. So it looks organized, but there's too much stuff. I will never have enough time in my lifetime to make all the artwork that you see here. Anyways, I've got my beautiful yellow that I mixed up. I love to use golden paints, and I will pre-mix my whole palette. It's all tucked away under there right now. But this is the next color. Where's the one I might have already put it away. Here it is. Sorry. And this is the first color. So color 1 and 2 are really similar because I like to work with spectrums. So the next one is like a chartreuse color that's going up there hopefully later this afternoon once I do these abstracts and get through this little bit of paint. So I already did some mark making on these with the yellow. Sometimes I use tape. I love painter's tape. I use a lot of it. I usually use pretty good quality painter's tape, like Frog Tape brand painter's tape. My husband and I are refinishers, and so I got snobbish about tape working with him. So anyways, sometimes I'm using like the palette knife. Sometimes I'm using found things to make my marks. This is I bought hair dryers because I teach watercolors as well. So I bought hair dryers because I don't know what happened. Sometime in between a move or something, I lost my watercolor supply stash, and I couldn't find like the water bottles I had, and I couldn't find the because I use a lot of spray. I use a lot of water, but then I use a hair dryer to dry it. So I always have them available when I teach because a lot of people just aren't, you know, equipped maybe to have a dedicated spray bottle or hair dryer. So I bought new ones. Anyways, I don't know why I told that whole story. Whatever. This is the end of the hair dryer, and it makes 2 really cool marks. It makes this mark and it makes a circle. So I have several of them because nobody needed them really for the class. So these I move out of the way. They're already dry, so I can actually just add them back to the stash if I want. And then I can just grab the next one and decide like what marks I'm going to make. A lot of them, I actually do a lot of palette knife work with my pieces. I'm really into like the drawing quality, I guess. I took a lot of drawing in not high school. Well, I took a lot of art in high school. When they saw that I had some ability, I was pushed into doing a lot of artwork. Not like pushed into like against my will, but sometimes I felt like it. But anyways, I had like enthusiastic teachers, we'll just say. So yeah, once I got to college though, and I took art in college, you would think I studied painting because I do a lot of painting. Like I do acrylics and I do watercolors and I just started doing oils. And so you would think I was a painter, but in college, you know, it's kind of first come, first serve a lot of the time with classes. And I don't exactly remember why, but I think some of it had to do with like my registration status. I was like emancipated from my parents at a young age. And so because of like my full financial aid or whatever, I don't remember, but I wasn't able to register oftentimes as early as everybody else. or I didn't get like pre-registration. So anyways, that being said, I would get like the leftover classes. So I took tons of drawing and I took a lot of sculpture and I took printmaking. And so I think I got into one painting class in my whole college education, which is kind of wild, maybe two. But I focused on those other things and I actually really enjoyed them. And even though I don't have like a sculpture studio now, necessarily, or I took welding even, I don't have a printmaking studio. That would be like really hard to do. Like all of those, like the graphic nature of printmaking and the three-dimensional nature of sculpture, it all like informs the work that I do. I feel like if you look at it, you can see it in there. Yeah, so like I'm just going in and I'm just picking up some of my leftover paint and I'm just making marks where I like them. Sometimes I try to make the marks really clean and thin, and other times I don't. Um, I'm really looking at the piece to try to get like a balanced composition. And I don't know how long these take to finish if you were to ask me, because they're all different. Some end up not needing as much effort as other ones. And some just take a really long time to get enough layers down so that I can call it done. This one has like layers of tape like crisscross. This one has them straight. And I really started doing these as just like a way to use up extra paint. I use mason jars to store my mixed up paint, and so it lasts a good amount of time, but not indefinitely. And so I like to use the paint that I have left on my palette as well, because I don't want to rinse it down the sink or whatever, or waste too many paper towels. So I started making paintings out of leftover paint in order to like mitigate waste, basically. But I started really liking the effects of the abstracts, and so do other people. So because they're sort of random and because I don't really have as much dedication or attachment to them, I don't mind like charging less for them, basically, because it is just leftover paint. And really, I'm spending seconds at a shot on each one. Well, maybe a minute or two, as you can see. I just kind of look around the canvas. Sometimes I spin it around to see what I'm feeling. I'm really excited to be working in this new color palette. The old one got kind of boring after a while. So this one is a yellow, green, blue, teal palette that heads into purple eventually, but only as I think the very last color. So, or no, maybe the last two colors. So I'll be excited to pop it up with some yellow. I normally just set these kind of all over the place. When my husband gets home from work, the whole living room is usually filled with like 40 paintings that I have added little spits of paint onto. Sometimes I can stand them up to help them dry. I don't want it to fall down on the ground. Not that it would really matter. This one I found on the side of the road. It was already painted with this purple, so I'm excited because I can just go right into it. Although I'm not sure if I really love what I'm doing with it. I'm already like second guessing if this was the right choice for this one. I kind of want to like reconsider this one. I don't know. Indeed. This one I may wait on. I'm just not sure. Part of me wants to like separate it out into 4 quadrants. And part of me wants to do like what I have going on here, which you can see on some of these other ones, like this one, where I could use like, here, let's use this end of this thing now. Instead of the other end, I'll use this end. Where I have like the tape just kind of all over. And I have to like look closely at the canvas to see even where the canvas is at this point, so that I can make sure I get marks on it, because there's so much of it covered up. This is nearly ready to be unveiled. And then I'm going to see, well, did it work, or do I have to like not restart it, but like revamp it, if that makes any sense. So I like this mark maker. This dryer thing is great. I put 2 of them up there just for fun, just for variety. Add one there. I'm not sure if we're really hitting much canvas at this point. Okay. Just a little bit maybe for GPs here. All right. That might be all the exposed canvas. Oh no, there's a piece right there. I don't necessarily try to hit every single piece of exposed canvas, but in this case, there's so little of it left that every mark makes a difference and differentiates it from the previous layer. So when there's less tape, it doesn't matter as much if I hit every spot, but when there's more tape, it matters a lot. So all I needed was those like, and we're good to go on that one. I've got canvases over here that I found on the side of the road that I've covered with some primer and I'm reviving. I love the free bins on the side of the road. It's where I find half of my stuff. I don't love canvas panels. They look flat, but they're not. Yeah, so I don't know if this format of working will work for me or work for you guys, but I actually really enjoy his channel. I had started watching it like a month ago, and then I don't know what happened. I got distracted with some cottagecore girl. Real Vintage Dollhouse is my other binge right now, in case you made it this far. So I really like her format as well, but she is so polished, and she would probably like blush to hear that, but I think her work is really polished, and I love her episodes, her channel, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm not really, I don't like that. Once in a while I make a boo-boo that I kind of hate. I'm pretty good about not wanting to wipe things off, but if I really hate it, then I will. And that just didn't work for me. Yeah, and I was like very anti-YouTube for a long time. I have like other my yarn casts and my art casts and stuff. I think I explained like the whole love hate. Well, it wasn't love hate. It was a hate relationship with YouTube. And then I started my own channel, and I tried using it, and I love doing it, but the content creation is pretty brutal, and it takes away from my creation time. And so it felt like, how can I possibly do both? It really feels too overwhelming. Plus, I was trying to build a website, which I'm still not even done with, and just other things. I have other commitments and things in my life, like I play the keyboard and sing and stuff. So I have other things that I do. It's not like full-time professional or anything. I'm not very good, but in truth, it takes up time. So in any case, I just wanted to have peace and balance in my life, and I figured it was better to stop early in my YouTube career, I guess you want to call it, to evaluate and to see where I belonged. And then I felt like I got a little shift in my direction, and now I'm just kind of adapting to that. But that didn't mean not making art. That didn't. That little, if you saw that post that said, "Hey, things are shifting. I'm just going where God takes me." That post didn't mean I would no longer make art or even art related content. It just meant I have some other focuses in my life that I have to think about, and I need to be sure to honor, I guess is a good way to put it. Not loving how this is coming out on this. So part of me wants to just put it down and let the subsequent layers fix it, because that's usually what happens if I'm unhappy with it. So let's just do that. This one, it starts with these base purples, so I'm gonna feel weird putting yellow on it, but I'm gonna try it. See what happens. Usually use the metal palette knives for this. wherever they are. I don't know. Here's an old metal one. I was also hoping that maybe making some of these videos would help me to feel comfortable enough to do lives again. It's so stressful for me to like teach or to paint live or whatever. I used to do demos and I loved doing them, but I guess over time I started having like anxiety, and so being in front of people and being observed was really challenging. So that's obviously hysterical that I play the keys and sing and stuff. Um, that's another thing that is against my will, I guess you could say, that someone else has kind of encouraged me into. If it were up to me, I would probably sit in my crochet corner and crochet unless my husband was off work, in which case I would say, let's go, explore the woods somewhere or grab a kayak or have a drink somewhere or something. I'm just a pretty low-key person. It doesn't take a lot to make me happy. A yarn and a hook. My husband's company is all I need. That's kind of how I spend my evenings. As he's doing stuff, I'll hang out with him and crochet. So, all right, so that's that right there. Those extra little marks add an interesting pop of color. Set that one there. Probably move this out of the way. Probably move this out of the way too. This table gets filled quickly with all of these pieces. I've got some grapes here to snack on. Eat a healthy snack in the studio. That one is a maybe. I just realized that it would be really noisy for me to chew a grape while I was on a microphone, so I should probably avoid doing that. No snacking while you are recording with a microphone, maybe. I got to think about that. I'll have to listen and see. Can you hear me crunching? The next piece I want to work on is this one for just a minute, and I'm actually thinking about implementing some circles into this one as well. Although I don't know if I want the same size. Got all these like things here. Like here is a Saratoga Tea and Honey Company, because I live near Saratoga Springs. It's got like a bigger circle than this one. So maybe this one. Kind of refresh my paint. I have plastic on it so it doesn't dry up on me. Get the bottom fully covered to see if it will work. I don't know. The plastic might be weird, but I've already got paint on it, so we're gonna, oh, it works out. That's not bad. I have found that the more you use something and the paint builds up on it, the more you have a better surface. Actually, I could probably get a couple of stamps out of it. Yeah, what I'm essentially doing is just stamping. I just kind of keep going until I don't know, until I feel like it's enough. I don't need to necessarily even overlap everything. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I like an element of whimsy and surprise, and I don't know. Not too perfect, I guess, is important, because I'm super imperfect. So it's faint mark making, but see, they're there. Set that one aside. This one is fairly new. A newbie by I can tell like who's a newbie by how many layers. This has very few layers on it, and some of them have like tons and tons and tons of layers on it, like this one here that we just did. And that's not even that many, honestly. So these go through many iterations, and the tape gets moved and shifted, and I'm working on different areas of the canvas, so I just let them each develop as they want to. Really dig the yellow on here, though. That's like popping. That glowing color underneath the purple. There's something about it. not sure I'm getting this done as quickly as I would get it done if I wasn't talking about it, but I don't have to show you every single one I'm doing. I try to get like the marks not evenly distributed, but just a good coverage, you know, across the board. We like to take walks as well as kayaking and hiking. We just like to go out and take walks. But it's been so hot. And then they paved our road on Monday, I think. And it was like 95 or 98 or I don't know, 108 degrees here in upstate New York, which is crazy because it was like 50 2 weeks ago and freezing cold. But anyways, it makes walking around the block like really brutal because it retains the heat. It's like so dark colored, and it's so hot right now. Hopefully I'm not destroying this beautiful glow. I love the effect. I always forget to turn it around. All right, that probably is enough for this guy. I'm anxious to get, some yellow on this one. And by then I'm starting to like hit the dregs here. And I can move on to painting on the canvas with the next color, which should be pretty cool. Hopefully you have enjoyed watching this. If you watched it and you didn't pass out from boredom, I would hope you would just go watch one of the 2 channels I recommended instead of doing that. Please don't do that on my account. I really love Real Vintage Dollhouse, and I really do love Sailing with Phoenix. I don't expect him to clean up his language for my sake. I clean it up for other people's sake, and that was a challenge, so I'm not going to impose that on anybody else. I appreciate his heart and his heartfelt content and his cat especially. My kitty passed away last year, and I thought we were going to get a new one this spring. And when not spring, but summer, at the beginning of June, I had the ability to get one. And then the landlord had come to find out, had written into the lease that we wouldn't be having a cat because I guess he knew our cat passed away. And I was just thinking, oh, well, we already had a cat, so what's the big deal? But the big deal is he didn't want a new cat. I guess he was partial to the old cat, and new cats are not welcome here. So I have to vicariously appreciate someone else's cat. I have a fish, though. Shh, don't tell him. I'm not paying rent for the fish. And when I had the cat, I was charged $50 a month rent for my cat. Now that that is done, I'm going to grab a couple more that I like to use the plastic on. Maybe this one as well. Whoops. Ah! I've never done that before. I don't know what happened to that piece. It needs to be secured. Okay, I always have my handy dandy tape nearby. I have a whole thing right on the end of my big table here that holds a whole bunch of tapes. Usually my husband is kind enough to replenish them for me regularly.
the studio just gives him an excuse to spend money on me. Like yesterday, I was saying, oh man, I really love these Stay Wet palettes. I use these Stay Wet palettes to keep my palettes nice and wet. Here's what they look like. And I have one for watercolor and I have one for acrylic, and now I need one for oil, essentially. Just in case I have oil paints that I want to save on a separate glass palette, which I have glass palettes everywhere. So anyways, I forgot why I was saying that, but he does a lot of that too. I think that was encouraging, like from a fellow like borderline autistic, ADHD, Asperger's, whatever kind of person that I am. I was like, oh, he loses his train of thought a lot too. And so I feel a lot less stupid for maybe having that happen to me when I'm on the camera, because I do that and I'll think like, oh my gosh, what was I saying? Or I'll be live streaming. I'm like, what was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. Which is kind of unnerving. I have a couple TBIs from when I was little. I was literally dropped on my head when I was little. And, you know, if you say, well, it shows, I'll say, you're not wrong. You aren't a bit wrong. But anyways, I have a really hard time with like short-term memory. Like I can remember things from a long time ago, but what I literally just asked for at the deli, I can't remember what it was. So I lose my train of thought a lot when I am talking as well, which I'm sure is really frustrating for the people I'm talking to. But I was like, hey, I don't have to like worry about that because he's not worried about it. And although his story is way more interesting than mine, I won't even encourage you to subscribe to my channel. Go subscribe to his. It's definitely more interesting than my channel would ever be. I'm not sailing by myself across the Pacific or anywhere for that matter. Although I wish I was. I've been trying to get my husband to do the RV road life with me for a long time, but he's like, okay, sure. Where would you like to put the studio? That absolutely. Where's the studio going to go? I'm like, but you're supposed to figure that out. Like a studio on the road? Could we do that? So, anyways, you know, he tries to humor me. We have a camper sitting in the driveway that he wants to make me a little roving happiness, but it's not going to be a forever home. It's just too hard to do that with a studio. But I could go vacation and make art on the road, which would be fun. There's that. I have just a little bit left. So what I will do is use it to add some elements to this canvas right here. Carefully, I make a mess. You can always tell when I've been working on the abstracts because they're so messy. I usually get paint spatters everywhere. I am a paint spatter, essentially. That's what my friend asked me yesterday, who I play music with. She said, are you a spatter? And I was like, for sure. I am definitely a mistake. I could even squirt a little bit more water onto here and thin out what tiny bit I have left and just add like a few elements of droppage here like so, which I like to do. And then even sometimes I will just do a tiny bit of a little smooch of water just cause. That one's not bad. I'm digging this one. I don't know what I'll do with them, but well, I think that is about it for this run of paint, essentially. So I'm going to grab the last canvas I put the plastic directly on. I'm going to go with this one, I think. It's got like, it looks like a mess. It kind of is, but it's a mess worth keeping around. All right, so now I'm going to do this and clean up all the paint off the canvas onto the plastic, or at least most of it. I'm going to like scrunch up my plastic, and I'm just going to like get it set down on here like this, kind of. And let it dry. All right, set that one aside. Okay. Dump my palette knife in some water. And then clean off my palette. I have a whole collection of these rainbow rags. I just build up layers and layers and layers of paint on them until they don't want to take up any more paint. All right. Good as new. Well, that is my process in creating some of my mini abstracts. I didn't use much of my junk here right now today in this particular run, I guess. I kept it pretty simple. But now I'm going to move on to the big canvas. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go live for that or if I'll put that in this video. I don't know. We'll see. I'm still thinking about it. But if I don't see you next time, then I do want to say like, subscribe, share, I guess, if you like this. And if you don't, then don't. So anyways, thanks for being here, and thanks for watching me paint my mini abstracts. So onward to the other painting. Okay, so I'm in front of my latest acrylic painting, Eye on the Prize, and you can see the colors and the reference photo, kind of what I'm going for. So now it's time to get the next color put on there. I thought it would be really fun to do this on the video that I'm creating for today. So I didn't know I was going to do that, but that's what I'm going to do. So I've got a time lapse set up to record me painting, and I've got a time lapse set up over my paint or my palette area so that I can time lapse that as well. So this is my favorite glass palette here. I love this thing so much. It's like a 1/4 inch thick white glass, like a rolled glass. I got it at an auction and I love it. It's my favorite palette. So I'm going to grab color number 2, which, as you can see, is a little bit more green than color number 1. So that's what's going up next. Grab my water bottle, spritz my palette, and my palette knife, and my plastic. I'm going to put my paint on my palette. And there's quite a bit of number 2 on the canvas, which I just have numbers 1 through 10 basically. So I'm just going to grab all the paint out of the jar and put it on the palette so that it's ready and waiting for me. I'm just going to screw that cap back on really tight. Give it another spritz, and then I cover it with some plastic wrap. So, oh, I was supposed to be already starting my time lapse, but I didn't, but that's okay. I forget to do a lot of things. I don't only lose my train of thought. I lose the train entirely. The train leaves the station and I don't go with it. All right, so now I'm going to cover that up and that will keep my paint nice and wet. So I've got a couple of my fave brushes that I use for acrylics right here ready and waiting. These are actually oil brushes, so I do bounce around between mediums a good bit. Those are oil brushes. So I'm going to grab my acrylic brushes and have those at the ready, and my spritzer, and find my first section. Number 2 sections are like up here, and then we start to get down into the body of the cars. There's not a ton of them, but they go around each of these yellow areas. So those are kind of slow and tedious to get through, but you just got to do one at a time. And they take several coats of paint. Grab some water too. It takes 3 or more coats of paint to get the opacity that I need from the paint. So I just have to patiently go through, paint them all once, paint them all, let it dry, paint them all twice, let it dry, paint them all 3 times, sometimes more. I try to add enough white to the paint to stabilize the color so that it doesn't stay completely transparent. This is probably taller than I need it to be, but I don't want to move it for this one piece, because then I'll be like down here where the cars are and I'll probably want to lift it up. I saw a cool setup recently on the Milan Institute, through the Milan Art Institute program, where the easel seemed really versatile and big and able to accommodate a lot of work, like a lot of, you could accommodate more than one painting. And it seemed like it would accommodate kind of, any type of work you're doing, but I didn't like how you couldn't move it up and down. I think one of my favorite things about my easel is how easy it is to move it up and down. Just going to grab these little spots at the top first so that my arm isn't like rubbing them when I go to paint. I just kind of go like from this down, basically. I probably won't do this whole thing on this video, but I thought it would be fun just to get a couple spots painted in. And then maybe if I'm feeling it, I will go and do a live, which isn't my favorite thing to do. Especially if I haven't done one in a while, then I get like sketched out by going live. I don't know, I get easily psyched out. I don't know why. I do paint these like basically in succession. So I go through and I do all the 1s, then I do all the 2s, then I do all the 3s, or at least I try to do that. Sometimes I find one that I missed as I was going along, but I try to do them pretty systematically. I try to use the biggest size brush that I can use in the space that I'm trying to fill in, just for better coverage. Any good house painter would tell you to do that. Although when I'm painting houses with my husband, I can't really paint with anything bigger than 2.5 inch wide brush is just about what I can handle for the day without my hand cramping. Oh, see, there's a number 1 right there that I missed from yesterday. So normally what I will do if I see that kind of thing is I will keep my jar nearby and grab a different brush. I just need to grab a little acrylic brush. Let me see what I've got from my stash here. Brushes are like mixed up and crazy because I taught and then I never really seem to get them back where I liked them. So I will just need to make sure I get 3 coats on that. So I will end up setting this aside and just putting the brush under the plastic in like the corner so that it doesn't contaminate the other color, and then go back to it a couple more times as it's dry to make sure that I get good coverage. Even though it's a tiny spot, I want there to be good coverage. So all the shapes in this, I really challenged myself with this particular piece because it has a million tiny shapes. I wanted to see how fine I could go and how crazy it would be. Uh, it's taken me way longer to do this painting than I would have liked, so I'm not sure it was really the best idea. Um, but I do feel like I'm in a better place now than I was in before. I don't want to say knock on wood. I don't really have superstitions, but I would like to hope and pray that the peace and the relief that I am finding is something that I am able to continue to manage and maintain. So I've pulled out like a incredibly tiny brush to do this, and I do worry about the coverage because I go back in with the black Sharpie to fix things, and that's when it becomes hard to cover. Even these like grayish marks where you can see that I've like used the acrylic paint pen to fix my boo-boos, they can be hard to cover, and they can take more than the 3 coats. It just depends. So I tried to be very good about stabilizing my colors this time so that I could still have that really cool neon effect, but not have to put 6 layers. Working with such a tiny brush, though, it's hard to get good coverage. So this is kind of what it looks like for me to be working on the spaces in that very, very early elementary stages. So I hope that you enjoyed watching me work on my mini abstracts and my big, huge acrylic painting. And I'm hoping that I decide to actually put this up on YouTube, edit, post, whatever you want to call it. So I'm hoping that I do that, and I hope that if I do that, that somebody out there finds it and enjoys it. I'm not very good at this. I am, like he says, what's his name? Oliver, I think is his name on Phoenix Sales. Phoenix is his cat's name, but he says every day, like, I'm not good at this. I'm an idiot. I'm not good at this. I'm an idiot. I don't even profess to be a very good artist. So if you're like, oh my gosh, that's terrible, what are you doing? You know, that's fine. I don't really care. I just want to uh, share my stuff with anybody who's interested. So, by the way, shout out to Featherly Crafts. My friend is also on YouTube and Instagram. She is a crochet pattern designer, and these are her crochet patterns. And I just love them so much. If you're looking for some cute summer earrings to crochet, you should head over to Featherly Crafts and see what she's up to. So, anyways, if you like this, I really appreciate you being here. Like, subscribe, share, and I will see you in the next video.